The most popular chaser in the land, Kauto Star makes his seasonal reappearance in the JNWine.com Champion Chase at Down Royal on Saturday. He won this race 2 years ago, while last year he beat subsequent Gold Cup winner Imperial Commander in a thrilling Betfair chase on his comeback run. Well, a small field up against Kauto Star as he makes his seasonal reappearance. Nick, would you be with him or against him?
I think I'd be with him this weekend. I think this is a harder race than the one he won 2 years ago when he came to Down Royal. I think a lot of it's going to come down to stamina. I'm still not convinced that Sizing Europe wants 3 miles or he's going to stay 3 miles. So that's in Kauto's favour. And I think a bigger threat might be China Rock, who started the season in really good style and probably outstayed Sizing Europe last time out. So I don't think it's going to be easy for him, but if you think last season on his reappearance, he took on Imperial Commander, who of course went on to win the Gold Cup. So looking at it in those terms is probably an easier task than going to Haydock or taking on Imperial again on his debut.
And just looking at his season as a whole, how you see it panning out, he's 10 years old now. The Hennessy's been mooted as an option, providing he comes out of the weekend's race well. Would that be a race you'd like to see him in?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great for the public to see him in it. I'm not quite sure of the need to run him in the Hennessy, because presumably he's going to be wanting to retain his crown at Kempton on Boxing Day, and that's going to be his big mission. If he was to take on some of his stablemates in a gruelling race at 3 Mile 2 at Newbury, maybe Denman, who's his favourite stamping ground, Newbury, maybe Neptune Kalonji's. I'm not quite sure it fits in ideally. It probably leaves him about 3 or 4 weeks up until the King George. Paul Nicholls has said in recent years that he's best on, kept on the fresh side. I wouldn't be surprised if he did win well this weekend, that we saw him go straight to Kempton, because, I'm sure that's the race they want to win above all others. And, I mean, if he was mine, I'd probably want to mind him a little bit more and, maybe not try him in handicaps at this stage of his career and, plan his campaign a little bit more sparingly. So, I mean, if he was mine, I'd go from here to the King George. But, it'd be great for the public to see him at Newbury. So.
And when he won this race in 2008, the race at the weekend, the JN1 Champion Chase, he then went on to win the King George and the Gold Cup. Do you think there's a realistic chance of him doing the double again this year?
I think it's going to be really hard for him. It's a really interesting season, obviously with Denman as well, approaching the sort of veteran stage, you would say. Paul Nicholls has done a magnificent job in keeping the pair of them on the go all this time. But with Kauto, I think he's probably going to have a tough task in the King George, or a tougher task than he's had in recent seasons anyway, particularly if young guns like Long Run turn up in top form. As for the Gold Cup, he'll be an 11-year-old next season. Imperial Commander will still be around. I'd be tempted to lay him for those races, to be honest with you. I don't mean that in any bad way. Obviously, you want him to run well and still see him at the peak of his powers. But, I mean, if you're looking at it from a betting perspective, I could see him getting beaten in the King George. And then if he were to be beaten in the King George, then I wouldn't fancy him, particularly for Cheltenham. So I would be keen to be against him after this weekend. But Kauto Star's proved many people wrong before, and he might do again. So who knows?
So to sum up, if you were having one bet on him this season, when would it be?
I'd see what the prices are this weekend. Hopefully, Sizing Europe and China Rock will stay in, so to give him a little bit of opposition and to make his price a little bit more appealing than maybe it would be otherwise. But I think after that, it'd be a watching brief for me rather than lumping on him, even at Kempton.